What's up, guys? It's time for Unscripted. Today, I have a couple of topics that I want to hit on, but as in any unscripted episode, it's mostly going to be about car audio, but it might take a turn for the worse. It might take a turn for the better. We just don't know. So, today, the first thing I want to get out here is I want to thank everybody that has supported me since the beginning of this channel. We have started with nothing, from a train wreck that was losing my last channel to some hacker that tricked my gullible self into opening a PDF and losing my channel. I have come from that, and with the help of all of you guys, built the channel back to a good, strong foundation. We still got a long ways to go to get where I'm going, wanting to get, but we have come so far. You guys have responded each and every time when I've asked you to do something. You guys went over to Carmel Car Audio's channel and you lit him up, and he was all smiles. Those guys got a big kick out of what you guys did. Thank you for that. You guys have supported me in every endeavor that I've asked you to, and it's been absolutely amazing. Whenever Carmel give me the amp, y'all handled that. Whenever Danny donated this big boy right here, this big 9,500 watt amplifier, you guys lit up the comments and let him feel the love. And I am so glad that you guys did that. It made his day. It made his week. You know, he works hard for his money, and he felt like he wanted to help me out and be a nice person. And I'm all about supporting other members of the community and other people around me. And when people need my help, I'm always trying to do my best to help them. So I really enjoy it whenever someone decides they want to help me out. Very surprised and very overwhelmed emotionally by the whole thing. Through all of this fire, and rain and storms, we have gotten to a good point in this channel. We have managed to not only build the channel, but I've done a rebuild in this Tahoe and got a big, nasty 412-inch, 10,000 watt system in here on a wall that is slamming like it never has before. That is a massive thing. But you guys know it's never done. And though the front of the wall is mostly done, it still needs some trim work and a few bells and whistles. But the back of this wall is in a temporary state. So this part down here, from this part down, is pretty much the way it's going to stay, at least for the meantime. But from here up, this piece is temporary. Now, I know I have my EXO signature on here. Big freaking thing for me. Huge thing for me. But if I don't use this panel in here, it will live on my wall in my house. Okay? So it's not going anywhere as far as getting lost or whatever. It's going to stay in a prominent place, but it may not be in the Tahoe. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to tell you guys about a couple of ideas I have. You can bounce your ideas off of me. Let me know what you think, whether you think they're good ideas, bad ideas, or whether you want to add to the idea. I want to hear it down in the comments. This is where we have discussions and find out things. We learn things. We contribute to our community, okay? If you notice, the name of my channel is Car Audio Enthusiasts. There's a plural at the end. It isn't me, it's all of us, okay? What I'm thinking is this panel coming out, right? Have another panel that comes in and goes over and makes the wings and makes the whole shape. Something I already intended to do before. I just needed to get something up and running for the show so it would look decent. That's a given, okay? So this will all be closed in. Now, there's a couple of things I can do, and we can do either of these two things, or we can conceivably do both of these things. The first one is fairly easy, okay? The first idea is to, after that's done, have pods or a wall of speakers up here, some kind of speaker system up here. I'm thinking about possibly a 6.5 and a tweeter, a 6.5 and a tweeter. And if I just do that, we're going to go a different direction. But I could also do that, or I could do like 4 6.5s going across, maybe 2 tweeters, some kind of nameplate or something up here. That's one idea, right? That whole thing I just said. Here's the other one. Now, this is the crazy one, but it's next level. If I can pull this off, if I can make this work, this will take this vehicle to a much higher level. And I don't think it's going to require too much tech. It's just a whole lot of work. And I may be a little ambitious, and I may be a little bit premature. I may be a little bit, jumping in the water that I can't necessarily swim in, but there's a rabbit behind the camera. He's coming over here. Anyway, yes, squirrel. It was literally almost a squirrel, ground squirrel. What if there was a big old monitor back here, right? Some sort of big TV back here, speakers on either side, okay? The TV would be connected visually to my tablet in the front so that I could screen share and play exactly what I'm playing on the tablet show up on the screen back here, whether it be the tracks that I'm playing, whether it be YouTube videos, my own YouTube videos, or music videos, all that kind of stuff. Playing whatever's on the tablet would be back here on this screen. So I could just mimic it, mirror it back here, mirror cast it right back here, have the speakers hooked up back here to give a full experience back here, right? Now, with this part opened up, there's a pretty good amount of shade that comes down over this area. So even in the bright sunlight, it still should be visible. And when I close this, I can open this part and the TV is still visible. So even in slightly less weather or more weather, I still have it visible and more or less protected. This also can be adjusted. So I could bring this down some like so and really darken that up in there. I could add a clamp over here on the strong arm to make this stationary where it can't fall down anymore, although it will sit there. The base will obviously knock it down though. But I can have it clamped to where it can sit here and partially shield that and create that AV experience back here in the back, right? So there's a lot of ways this could all work. Now, I know you're thinking, man, the base is going to destroy a TV. And you're absolutely right. That's the other problem. That's the biggest problem. Now, if the question is, can I mount a TV back here? Yes, that's easy. I mean, just a base mount, bam, you got a TV back here. The second question is, can I connect to it with my tablet? Yes. A Samsung TV of any kind, which I have one, will connect quite easily and screen share with the tablet. Okay, so that's easy. Can I power the TV? The answer is yes. I would have to use a small power inverter and I could plug it right in. There is a possibility of issues with AC current because AC current tends to cause problems, but I can also run a DC to DC converter or just wire it to the vehicle's power source too. There's possibilities there. But I know for a fact 100% that I can run a small power inverter and run the TV back here. Okay. So those are all easy. The next question is, can I build a frame to make it look like it belongs here? Well, that's a little bit more of a involved process. I feel like I had the skills to make that happen. The last and most important question is, will a monitor of some kind mounted back here in the back of this Tahoe with the thunder that it drops survive the environment? Friends, that is the unknown factor. That is totally unknown. I mean, this thing broke screws on this rack. I just don't know. I would probably have to create a very specific VESA mount. I think I have part of a VESA mount in the closet over there I could dig out. But create some kind of custom VESA mount that allowed the TV to be on shocks, right on like springs or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm too ambitious with this TV idea. I don't know. You know, I just don't know. But barring the TV idea, okay, just kick that to the side for the moment and focus on the audio experience. I do like the audio experience idea, and I do think that we can make this work. Now, one thing about the audio idea is if I use a enclosure back here that's self-contained, right? Like it's a self-contained enclosure that's mounted on isolators to the back of the box. I could, in theory, put a screen in that enclosure and it would all be in one piece. And then have isolators between that box, which would be shaped like this, right? Shaped like this. Isolators between it and the surface, the other piece that I have in here. So there'll be something to separate them. And then the TV mounted in it, and it would probably come out, say, you know, however many inches out from here to allow for the speakers to move and breathe and be mounted. That'd give plenty of room for the TV itself to be in there. Also room for the power inverter to be inside the box, a small one. And then the power from the power inverter coming out and coming around this way, I think, down underneath and connecting to the electrical back here. And that would be a smaller screen, so something, you know, a little more. And that would, so a lightweight screen is going to be easier to work with, but a heavier screen is going to resist the vibrations a little better. I could also use a computer monitor, which will give me a screen, but it's going to require a computer to be someplace. Whereas if I use a TV, I can do mirrorcast, right? I don't know. But regardless of whether I do a screen or not, I am going to do some kind of speaker system back here as a stunt wall. So now that I've introduced you guys to that idea, the next subject I want to hit on. Now, I've talked a lot about alternators, batteries, and charging, and the support system you need to make big audio system a thing, right? Make it possible. What I haven't talked about is the types of alternators that are available out there. So you've got your standard issue alternator that comes with your car, which gives you about 20% more power output than you actually need for your car. And it's usually not much available for something extra like a car audio system, a big one anyway. Then you've got your high output alternators that are used by manufacturers to put in vehicles where the electrical demand is going to be higher, say an ambulance or a tow truck or a police car, or fire trucks, all that type of stuff. They run lots of lights and lots of equipment and need more current available to them. So they have what they call a extreme duty or heavy duty alternators. And guys, if you get a chance to pick those guys up in the salvage yard, they're really, really good alternators. But then you move into the world of aftermarket. And in the aftermarket, we basically have, there's multiple categories. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a whole lot of variables, but we're going to break it down to two basic types of alternators. You've got your extremely high current alternators, which need to be, the engine needs to be idled up to around 1500 or 2000 RPMs to get that power. And then you've got the ones that are more designed to be able to make power at idle. A whole bunch of you guys are probably going, what? Right now, because you didn't realize that was a thing. But yes, most of your big 300 amp plus alternators require to be idled up to get that power. Some of them won't make any power at all if they're at idle. Most of them make very little power at idle. So if you're wanting to get the power that you're paying for, you need to buy the alternator that's going to function in the environment that you're going to put it in. If you're planning on sitting and idling for hours at a time doing demos and not revving the engine, you need to buy a high output alternator that is capable of producing a good amount of power at idle. If you're buying one to just hit the drag races, hit the DB drags and do that, then you might want to focus on the alternator that gives you the most possible power, but also requires the engine to be revved to get there. Make sure you're buying the alternator that suits the use case that you plan on putting it in. They're expensive purchases, and you don't want to buy the wrong thing, okay? In a lot of cases, running two factory alternators will end up getting you more power at idle than running one big 300 and something amp aftermarket alternator, because factory alternators make the vast majority of their power very, very quickly at a very low speed. Whereas a lot of your high current, high output alternators, they have to be revved up to get there. The other category we have to look at is voltage. So you can usually get a high output alternator in any voltage range. You can get it at the normal 13 to 13 and a half. You can get it up to around 14 and a half. And then you can get 16 volts if you want. Just understand that whatever you're charging at, you want to have storage that's maybe a volt or so lower than whatever you're charging at. So if you're charging at 16 volts, you need to have storage that's capable of storing, and resting voltage needs to be up around 14 and a half, 15 volts, or else that alternator, that's not doing anything. You've got to be able to get that voltage up on the storage. If you got a 12 and a half volt batteries, like you got 4 AGMs, there's no point in running a 14 and a half volt system alternator, because as soon as you start pulling current from that alternator's, that voltage is just going to drop right down to 12 and a half volts. And then the batteries are going to start helping it, and it's going to maintain right there. Having the extra voltage above that doesn't do crap, right? You need like a 1 volt above what you're trying to pull. You need whatever your resting voltage is of your entire battery bank. You need to be charging about a volt above that. Anything over that is just pointless. If you're going to be running a 16 volt alternator, you're going to need up to 15 volts, 14 and a half to 15 and a half volt storage. Now, we all know what AGMs are, absorbed glass mat batteries. They're essentially lead acid, but instead of being submerged lead acid, they take plates of fiberglass matting, and your acid is contained inside those sheets, those stacks of fiberglass matting. It's like a sponge. Whereas in an old lead acid battery, it's like containers, right, with acid in it and with lead plates down in it. But when the absorbed glass mat, you have, instead of those just loose acid in there, you've got a sponge that has plates in it, and that means it can be turned in multiple directions. It also gives better conductivity. It's better in every way, but it's still limited as any lead acid chemistry is going to be. If you guys are wanting to get up into the 13 and a half volt resting voltage, where running a 14 and a half volt alternator makes sense, right? You're going to need to step up to some sort of lithium chemistry. And I have a mixed history with lithium. Had headway incident. It was all due to me making mistakes, but they were easy mistakes. And headway is awesome, but it's also sketchy. Do your homework. Still, nonetheless, lithium is the future, and I've got to embrace it because, like it or not, this is where we're going. And that's going to be the case for all batteries. They're everywhere. And if you want a good supplier for built lithium batteries, for good, solid, quality lithium, Trunk Thunder Lithium is where you need to go. So you guys know I'm running Trunk Thunder Lithium back here. It's right down here. And the ability for that to hold in the 13s is crazy. That thing is handling this amplifier no problem. If you guys are interested, there is a link right down below, the very top of the information, right below the video. There's a link to the site. Use the coupon code CAE10, capital C, capital A, capital E, 10, the number 10, for 10% off if you go there. And that's 10% off of any purchase. And you can also get custom banks built. He does them as well. Really top class, top notch perfection when it comes to lithium. But back to the alternator thing. So getting the right alternator for the job that you're trying to do is imperative. You don't, it's not going to do any good to buy a 16-volt alternator and put it on a 12-volt system. It's just a waste. It's a waste of anything. It's pointless. And the only way 16-volt alternator would do any good on a battery system that's that low is, number one, first of all, it's probably going to cook the batteries over time from overcharging those batteries. And number two, if you're pulling any more amperage out of that alternator than what it's currently producing, the voltage is going to drop as soon as you start playing. It's not going to matter. Now, the question for some of you guys might be, well, why would you want to run higher voltage anyway? 12 volts seems to work just fine. And you're right, it does. The reason you want to run higher voltage, if possible, is because of the multiplier. You see, wattage, what makes the base, right? That number is the result of multiplying the amperage that you're pulling out of the battery times the voltage that you're pulling it at. So if you're pulling 12 volts and 100 amps, that's 1,200 watts minus a percentage of inefficiency. You're looking at maybe 1,000 watts, right? Yeah. Now, on the other hand, if you're pulling 14 volts and 100 amps, that's 1,400 watts. See what I'm saying? And you take away that 20%, you're looking at 1,150 watts. You gained 150 watts by adding a couple of volts. The point is, of course, this number gets bigger. The bigger your numbers get, the bigger that spread happens. So the higher your voltage is, the lower the amount of amperage you're having to pull, which means overall more effective system. Less amperage required by your amps is better. It means the whole system is just going to be more efficient. But you still got to factor in the car, and all of its systems are designed to work with, 12-ish watts of power. So whenever you start going up in that voltage, you start pushing the edge. You're going to have to do more complicated systems like splitting your system in two. Car system and the audio system, where you have two separate alternators with separate batteries and all that. Or other things to make that work. The point is, higher voltage is going to be more efficient, but only if you've got the batteries to raise the battery's resting voltage up to meet that higher voltage alternator. And more importantly than that, though, is consider what alternator you're buying. Look at the idle output and the maximum output and figure out which of these areas you need to focus on. What are you planning on doing with it? How do you want it to work? And then buy the alternator that's going to do the right job. The last part of this is alternators, if they come with a warranty, and it's an extended warranty is available, I highly recommend get the extended warranty. It's a big money purchase, and alternator gets hot, it works hard, it takes a beating. It's going to fail within a few years. Extended warranty may be the thing that gets you a new alternator after a couple of years. When it dumps, you can get a new one, it'll last you for a while longer. Extended warranty is well worth it on an alternator. Anyway, I hope this was cool for you guys. I enjoyed it. I always enjoy off topic, just crazy stuff. These are two things that I wanted to talk about, and I'm just throwing it out there to you in a purely conversational way. If you guys have any input on the ideas that I talked about earlier with this wall, which is getting ready to start happening, part of it is the foundation is going to happen regardless of what direction I go. Or if you have any input or questions about the alternator thing, and I'm sure there's going to be some, give me all that love down in the comments. If you guys want that lithium battery that you've been looking to get, head over to Trunks Under Lithium, the link down below, and use my coupon code for 10% off. And of course, if you want custom speaker pods for your doors, you want to make those awesome, cool doors like I have, that's at customspeakerpods.com, the link down below. And I have a coupon code of capital C, capital A, capital E to give you 10% off of there. And of course, all of that helps to support my channel as well. So for now, guys, peace.